Hello, and you're watching World News live from Warsaw. My name is Diana Skaya. The European Union is planning to hit back at U.S. tariffs by targeting specific imports from across the Atlantic. Now, our Europe correspondent Alex Cadier is in Brussels with the details. Hello, Alex. So now, what can you tell us? What goods does the EU have in its crosshairs?
Well, it's the list that everybody in Brussels wanted to get their hands on in the last few days and weeks, trying to figure out what will be hit, what will be on the list of potential retaliation from the European Union. Well, I've had sight of the leaked list. We're looking at a possible tariff on tobacco, steel, textiles, eggs, dental floss, poultry, and numerous other exports. It's quite an exhaustive list, but certainly the European Commission not taking any chances in what is effectively at this point just a threat of retaliation. Now, an interesting detail we've seen from this list as well is the fact that bourbon, which was initially on the draft list of the European Commission, will not be targeted as a retaliatory tariff. The reason behind that is lobbying from Italy, from France, from big alcohol-producing nations, because the Trump administration had threatened to then hit them with tariffs on wine, champagne, and other alcoholic drinks. So that's an interesting change from the previous draft, but clearly, as we've seen from the trade ministers meeting in Luxembourg just yesterday, the European Commission, that building behind me, getting ready to hit back if it needs to. But crucially, as we heard from the ministers, as we've heard from the Trade Commissioner, Maroš Šefčovič, the priority now will be negotiation rather than escalation. But if it's needed, the European Commission is ready.
Thank you so much, Alex Cadier, coming to us live from Brussels. We will be coming back to you throughout the day. Beijing is refusing to bow to what it called U.S. blackmail as a worldwide trade war sparked by President Donald Trump's widespread tariffs shows little sign of letting up. After significant losses at the start of the week, battered stock markets appear to have steadied in early trading on Tuesday. China's comments come after the American leader threatened to further increase tariffs on U.S. imports from the world's second largest economy. Now, Trump said he would push tariffs to more than 100% on Wednesday in response to China's decision to match the reciprocal 34% duties Trump announced last week. Now, these on top of the 20% tariff announced at the start of Trump's second term. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson warned that trade wars have no winners. As the world witnessed wild market swings triggered by those U.S. tariffs on Monday, former Polish Prime Minister Jan Krzysztof Bielecki told TVP World in an exclusive interview that he remains optimistic and that despite mounting fears of a full-blown trade war, Bielecki believes that Europe still has a strategic window of opportunity.
Well, I think I'm in the medium term, I'm an optimist, and I think that the Europeans could come out from the situation even with some rebalance or a little bit restructure economy. So it should be good. Okay, if some let's call it quite politely unnecessary welfare policy could be a little bit adjusted, it's only good for the competitiveness of the economy.
In his nightly address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that Kyiv's troops are still present in Russia's Belgorod region. Our Kyiv correspondent Oz Katerji reports on Zelensky's claim.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that Ukrainian troops were active across the border inside Russia, still in the Kursk region, but also in the Belgorod region in his nightly address to Ukrainians on Monday night. Let's take a listen to what he had to say in that address.
Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky also reported today on the front line, our presence in the Kursk region and in the Belgorod region. We continue active operations in the border areas on enemy territory, and this is absolutely fair. The war must return to where it came from. Our primary objective remains protecting our land and shielding our communities in Sumy and Kharkiv regions from Russian occupiers. The Commander-in-Chief reported on the activity of our units along the borderline in the so-called gray zone and directly on enemy territory. Importantly, thanks to the bravery and resilience of our warriors in the Kursk region, thanks to the entire Kursk operation, we've been able to reduce pressure on other parts of the front, particularly in the Donetsk region.
So the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky there confirming that Ukrainian troops are ongoing active operations inside Russia in the Kursk region and the Belgorod region in what Kyiv sees as defensive actions to protect their northern regions such as Sumy and Kharkiv. The question is, how do these operations impact Ukraine's defense across other parts of the front line where Russia has been advancing, such as in the east near the Toretsk, in Donetsk region, or in the south towards Zaporizhia, where the Russians have been putting a lot of pressure on Ukrainian troops. The Ukrainians will argue that these measures are defensive. They're meant to prevent Russia from taking territory in the north of the country. But the question remains as to can Ukraine keep enough supplies to that really long front line that they are creating for themselves by continuing these operations inside Russia. It's Oz Kataji reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
The reason the United States is not implementing tariffs on Russia is that Washington is not doing any business with Russia. This is what President Trump said when responding to a question from a reporter. Trump also mentioned that he was not happy with Moscow's continued attacks against Ukraine. Let's listen.
The reason we're not talking about tariffs with Russia is because we're not doing business essentially with Russia because they're in a war. And I'm not happy about what's going on with the bombing, because they're bombing like crazy right now. They're bombing. I don't know what's happening there. That's not a good situation. So we're meeting with Russia, we're meeting with Ukraine, and we're getting sort of close, but I'm not happy with all the bombing that's going on in the last week or so. Horrible. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing.
The Ukrainian Air Force reports that Russia launched 46 drones and an Iskander-M ballistic missile during an overnight attack.
9 drones were downed, while another 31 drones failed to reach their targets, likely due to electronic countermeasures, Kyiv reported. The Ukrainians did not say what happened to the remaining 6 drones or the missile. The embattled country is still reeling after a recent Russian attack that killed 9 children when a missile tore through apartment buildings and hit a playground.
On Monday, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha called for an urgent meeting of the UN Security Council to be convened today, Tuesday. His appeal came in response to a recent Russian ballistic missile strike on Kryvyi Rih, which killed 9 Ukrainian children.
Ukraine has initiated an urgent meeting of the UN Security Council and a special meeting of the OSCE Permanent Council to bring Russian crimes to the forefront. Both meetings will be convened tomorrow and will help to advance peace efforts and accountability. A robust international response to Russian atrocities is critical. Such terror should never be normalized. We call for both strong condemnation and firm action.
The United States will move troops and equipment away from a key transit hub for Ukrainian aid in southeastern Poland, redeploying them to other parts of the country.
Officials said the work of providing military support for Kyiv via the airport at Jasionka near Rzeszów will continue under the coordination of Poland and other NATO countries. In its announcement on Monday, the US said the decision, coordinated with Warsaw and NATO, forms part of a broader strategy to optimize American military operations. The US said the streamlined military footprint would improve the level of support to allies and partners while also improving operational efficiency. It emerged late last year that NATO had taken greater control over Ukraine aid coordination, including in Jasionka, which is the main hub for deliveries to war-torn Ukraine.
It will calm down a lot of issues which were unnecessarily emotional, said the chairman of the Polish-Ukrainian Parliamentary Group and former Polish ambassador to Canada, Marcin Bosacki, referring to the official start of the exhumation process in the village of Puzhniki in western Ukraine. Now, the efforts aim to recover the remains of Polish victims of the Volhynia massacre, a series of brutal killings carried out by Ukrainian nationalists in the 1940s, still a deeply sensitive chapter in Polish-Ukrainian relations.
Poles did not or have not demanded much. They just demanded I mean, both society and the families of the victims and the state as such. The Christian gesture to have possibility to bury their relatives or compatriots. And finally, the starting, I think it will calm down a lot of issues which were unnecessarily emotional, and let's say it frankly, also used by the common enemy, which is Russia. So I think from this decision, which I hope will be conducted smoothly and swiftly, only good things will develop for strengthened Polish-Ukrainian cooperation.
And that completes this edition of World News here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching, and stay with us for more news, features, and commentary.